Okay, big share today. What's the topic today? Gilgulim.
Gilgulim. Oh, wow. Many people.
Sure, you want to speak about it? It can happen in the night.
Huh? Oh, it has to be at night.
You know, it can happen in the night.
Yep. That's a different type of Gilgulim. That's the other shear about the Gilgulim. That's about the Dybbuk. I got another one about Dybbuks.
Remember Pinkus in the night of like Boimer.
Yeah.
Shouting this forest.
Yeah. That's Dybbuks. I got one about Dybbuks. So we're not talking about Dybbuks today. So there's an issue which is as old as mankind, and everybody has dealt with it. A tzaddik v'ralo. Why do bad things happen to good people? This has made many people an apikorsim, unfortunately. I'll give you an example. It's an extreme example. Rav Israel Talber was a, you know Israel Talber?
Yeah, of course.
You heard of Rav Israel Talber?
Oh, of course.
No?
Yeah.
He was a very, very big mashpia. He was in the Holocaust as a little boy. His father was sent to the work camps. His mother was in Auschwitz, and they survived somehow. So he knew what was going on over there, and he used to go around giving a lot of being makar of people. He was a businessman, but he was very, very talented in being makar of people. He used to give lectures. So he went out giving lectures in Manhattan, and he was an expert in the Holocaust. So he had a very, very secular audience in English, and he gave a lecture about the Holocaust. And afterwards, after the lecture, an very intelligent young lady, a journalist from Austria, Vienna, came up to me, and she says to him, I'm shocked. He says, what's the matter? What's bothering you? My father is a Holocaust survivor, and because of that, he became an atheist. He became so angry at God. After the war, he went to Israel, but he left Israel. He didn't want anything to do with Jews anymore. And he went to Austria, and he specifically went to live among the Goyim. He wanted his daughters, he had 2 daughters, he wanted them to marry Goyim. He was angry at God. He wanted to get back at God, what God did to him. He wanted to get even with God. He doesn't believe in God. And he wanted his daughters to marry Goyim.
How can you get back with someone you don't believe?
That's a famous contradiction that they have.
Why
Why are they so angry? Because they do believe, but they don't want to believe. So they want to get back, but they don't believe. That's a psychological contradiction that these people have. Yes, that's right. And she said every day I would only hear curses, right? Curses about this God, what he did to me, right? And here you are, you're being so positive. You're talking about Yiddishkeit, and you're a Holocaust survivor, and you have such emunah, such belief. I'm shocked. So they started speaking. He invited her to their house in Muncie, and to make a long story short, this young lady, a very intelligent, bright lady, she became a Baal Tshuva. She became religious. She started studying, and then her father heard about it. Her father came running. You're going back to this God that I ran away from. You're embarrassing me. What are you doing? He was a rich man. I'm going to disown you. You know, this is the famous line. I'm going to disown you. So she came crying to Rav Tauber, What do I do with my father? He said, let me speak to him. No, he's not going to speak to you. He's very angry at you. Don't meet my father. He's very angry at you. You made me religious. It doesn't pay for you to meet him. Okay, nicht. Eventually she made Aliyah. She lives now in the old city. And that's where she lives. So Rav Tauber says that, he said that he went every year to Eretz Yisrael, and he gave lectures in Eretz Yisrael. And one time he was in Tveria giving a lecture, speaking at a hotel. It was Motzi Shabbos Hanukkah. He always had a very big Shabbaton, and he had a lot of people, and it was like 800 people there. 800 people there, and it was a Motzi Shabbos. And after the lecture, so Anita, this girl, she came to visit him. She found out where he was, what hotel he was in, and she came to visit him in the hotel. Says, "What are you doing in Tveria?" Says, "Well, every year my father comes, the hot springs in Tveria. He comes to Israel, it's the hot springs. So I went up to visit him, and then I saw an advertisement that you were speaking, so I came to visit you. So what's happening with your father? Maybe I could speak to him." No. He's still doesn't forgive me. He still doesn't forgive me for becoming religious. Says, "Bring your father to the lecture tonight." No, he's not going to come. Okay. So that night he gave a lecture, and he talked about the greatness of Yiddishkeit. I won't go through all the details of his lecture. Won't talk about the details of his lecture. And he talked about that we've been in Gullus for 2,500 years. If you think about it, we've been in Gullus for 2,500 years. And all of a sudden, Gullus changed, and now they're not attacking the religion anymore. That was then. Then they weren't attacking the religion. Now they're attacking Jews without the religion. Now it's a different thing. But for 2,500 years, they were attacking the religion. And he said, then he talked about how the Jews, they've always had to fight for their emunah. And we had in the Holocaust. In the Holocaust, the Germans, they hated the Jews. They wanted to destroy the Jews. They wanted to push us into the dirt. And there's so many Yidden in the Holocaust, in the camps, that fought, that struggled to hold on to their Yiddishkeit. There was a Maisa. There was a 17-year-old boy, and he was in one of the camps. And he heard that in one of the barracks there was tefillin. One of the other barracks there was tefillin. Now, after working hours, you weren't allowed to go from one barrack to the other. They were always afraid that the Jews were going to have conspiracy and try to rebellion. So any Jew that they caught outside of the barracks after hours would be shot on the spot. But he heard that there was tefillin in the other barracks, so he snuck out. He snuck out to the other barracks, and he put on tefillin. Baruch Hashem, he was able to get there without being caught, put on tefillin. Unfortunately, on the way back, sneaking back to his regular barracks, he got caught. So the Nazi looked at him. "What are you doing, you Jew boy? What conspiracy? Who are you speaking to? Who's in your group? What are you trying to do? You trying to make a rebellion?" He says, "No, sir. No, sir. What conspiracy? What are you trying to steal?" "I'm not trying to steal anything." "Who are your friends? You know you're going to get killed. Now admit it." So he says, I'll tell you the truth. For a long time I haven't put on tefillin. And I heard there's a pair of tefillin in one of the barracks. And I wanted to do the mitzvah of putting on tefillin. So I went on and put on tefillin. The Germans started laughing. "You foolish Jew! You think I'm so stupid? You're going to tell me such a baba maisa, such stories. You're still loyal to that God. You still want to do his mitzvahs after we killed your parents and killed all your people, and you're going to be killed. And you still want me to buy that lie from you? I'm not a fool. You're still loyal to that God?" So the boy, he pulled up his sleeve and showed him that he had the marks of the tefillin still on his hand. These are the stripes of the tefillin. The German went into a rage. You stubborn Jews! You're still loyal to your God. You're still loyal to your Torah, no matter what is being done to you. You don't deserve to die. You have to suffer more. And he let him off. He says, that's what it was. Living one more day for God's sake. One more day to be a Jew. That's what these people, they were living one more day to be a Jew, to die for God's sake. In Treblinka was a terrible concentration camp. In less than a year, they exterminated more than 850,000 Jews. That wasn't enough. They wanted to humiliate the Jews. They took a paroiches, the curtain from the Aron HaKodesh. They took the paroiches, and on the paroiches it said, I don't know if the Germans knew what it said, it says, Zeh hashar l'Hashem, tzadikim yavo yavo, and they hung it over the door going into the gas chambers. They wanted the Jews to become angry at God. Even at the last minute, when they're about to be exterminated, they wanted them to curse. This is the entrance, how you're going to, right? This is the entrance where righteous people go through, into the gas chambers. And what did it do? For many, many, many Jews, many, many assimilated Jews, it did the opposite. It woke them up. They realized, Zeh hashar l'Hashem, tzadikim yavo yavo, they were going to be tzadikim when they went into the gas chambers. They understood, I'm coming back to you. I'm re-embracing you, my God. This is the gate to eternity that I'm going through. And when a Jew dies, only because he's a Jew, he's never lived his whole life as a Jew. But when he dies because he's a Jew, he's going to be Zecher to Tchias HaMesim. A person who was never Zecher to Tchias HaMesim. He did all the affairs in the book, but he died as a Jew on Kiddush Hashem. He's going to be Zecher to Tchias HaMesim. That's what we learned from the Arizal. Couldn't get Olam Haba. So that's what it was in Treblinka.
Rabbi, just get Olam Haba, you get some higher level of Olam Haba.
I would have. I'm not going into what I'm not going into that. I'm not going into that. There's a whole. But he will get Olam Haba, Gan Eden, whatever he gets. But he doesn't. He will not be lost. So how much he gets, I can't answer you. That's not for this year.
Rabbi, you can't answer us, it's just not for this year. That's what Rabbi's saying.
What?
I mean, there is a formula, it's just not for the introduction.
It's a bit. It's.
For introduction right now.
I don't want to go into it. Not right now. Not right now. Anyway. So that was the shir. That was the lecture that he gave, and then after the lecture they have music and everybody, right? The musicians started singing. They had the orchestra, and then after it's over, this Anita, this lady, this girl, she comes running up to Tauber on the podium. She says, "My father was here at the lecture. He heard everything you said." I said, "Really?" So maybe he's willing to speak to me. So she brought her father. He was a short man, an old Polish Jew from Lodz. And he was walking and his head was bowed down. He had heard the whole lecture. And his eyes were full of tears. And he says, Reb Tauber, I was in Treblinka. And I worked in the Sonderkommando. He was the one who put the bodies into the crematorium and pulled out the ashes. They had Jews do that. It says, I burned up my own family. I saw the curtain, I saw the paraiches that you described. and that pareiches made me into an apikairis. I couldn't forgive God. Why did you allow me to live? Why didn't you allow me to die together with my family? Why did you invest so many miracles in me? I should survive with all these memories and have all this pain in my heart. And I never got the answer. Why was God so cruel to me that I should survive? And that made me angry with God, so I told, so Reb Tava said, my dear Mr. Yid, my dear Yid, didn't you get the answer tonight? God doesn't know where to invest his miracles. He made you survive, and you thought that you were going to get even with God. You were going to go to Austria, to Vienna, and your daughter's going to marry Goyim, and here your daughter comes to Manhattan. She hears one lecture, and now she's sitting in Jerusalem. Zeh Hashar, she's writing with her own hands. Zeh Hashar LaHashem Tzadikim Yavo Yavo. You were the catalyst to bring your daughter to become a Baal Tshuva. Probably God will forgive you. You went through so much pain, you couldn't handle it. But your children, that's why God made you survive. Hashem made you survive. That your daughter now, she's from. And he started crying. And he took him up to his room for 2 hours, and he started, and they talked, and he finally made peace with the Ribbono Shel Olam. This story has repeated itself over and over and over again. Why? Why so many? 6 million Jews. Why do we see so many tragedies? But not just the Holocaust. We had the Inquisition. We had Chmielewski. We had the Crusades. You know what started me off with this? That I had a yortzeit and it was Shabbos Mevorchim. I had a yortzeit, I had a daven, it was Shabbos Mevorchim. So I looked at the luach and we say Avarachim. Why say Avarachim in Shabbos Mevorchim? You never say Avarachim in Shabbos Mevorchim. So it says, so I thought it was because of Rabbi Akiva. No, it's not because of Rabbi Akiva. And Echanami, the Sphira time is because of Rabbi Akiva's Talmidim. But we continue saying Avarachim and all the way to Shavuos, even after Lag BaOmer. Why do we say Avarachim even on a Shabbos Mevorchim when normally we don't say it? Even if there's a bris in Shul, we say Avarachimim. Because Avarachimim is a tefillah which was instituted, was written for the Crusades. At the time of the Crusades were, you look in the Magen Avraham, he says Tatnu. In 1096, there were the Crusades. They went through all of the Germany and France and over to Eretz Israel, through Poland and Hungary. And wherever they met a Jewish community, they wiped out the community. So many cities were destroyed. Spears and Magenza, Vermaisa. All the Jewish communities were decimated by the Crusades. Thousands and thousands of Jews died. This is the time of the Rishonim, the time of the Bali Tosfos. How could the era, the generation of the Bali Tosfos have deserved such a terrible thing? What's pshat? So there's this. So we know that we have a sefer in the Tanakh which deals with this. It's called Eov.
Eov. It's a book. It's a famous book. Fine Lines of Faith. Very famous book. Whoever wants.
A link in the description below.
So I wrote that sefer over 40 years ago, and now when I was preparing for this year, I came up with a new insight that I didn't have then. I concentrated on the Malbim. It's a very difficult sefer to go through. I concentrated on the Malbim. Now I found a Ramban and a Rabbeinu Bachia. A Ramban and a Rabbeinu Bachia. And they explain it. Eov says he was a tzaddik. Eov was a tzaddik. Total tzaddik. The Ramban says, tzaddik v'ralo, so you can answer it up if a person who is not a tzaddik gomer. Person not a tzaddik gomer. So he says that a person is not a tzaddik gomer. You have a few aveiros. Like all of us, Be'ez Hashem, we're all kosher yidden, but, we're not exactly 100%. Now, Kadosh Baruch Hu wants us to have a good olam haba. So what will he do? He'll give us our oynish that we deserve down here. We'll go through hard times down here, whether it's monetary, or he'll fall ill, or he'll have tzoris from whatever type of tzoris he's going to have, and he's going to have his oynish down here. So that when he gets upstairs, he's got a totally clean slate, and then he goes into the chasana hall, and goes into Olam Haba, to Gan Eden, totally and absolutely clean. That's the easiest way for us to understand a tzaddik varalo, a tzaddik who's not a tzaddik gomer. But there's a type of tzaddik that this does not explain, and that was Iyuv's taina. Iyuv was a tzaddik gomor. He was an ish tam. Listen to what the pasuk says about him. Ish tam hoya, asur meira. He didn't do anything bad. A yarei alakim. He was yashar. He was 100%. He never did anything bad in his life. And then he got the most terrible, excruciating pain and sorrows. Monetarily, his whole family was wiped out. All his estate was stolen by marauders.
All his kids were killed, Rebbe?
Yes. All his kids were killed. It says a tornado came and it fell on them, and some went into Chevy. Some were taken away by marauders.
Is it real? Is it
Huh?
Is it like a real story? Is it like?
The Gemara talks about it, whether it actually happened or didn't happen. There are 7 opinions. There are like seven opinions on whether it happened or didn't happen.
7. There's a notification. There's an alarm. Okay, ignore it. I think it's back.
Okay, so there are like 7 opinions in the Gemara. According to Reish Lakish, he was a nephew of Avram Avinu. We'll get to that in a second, maybe if I can. He was a nephew of Avram Avinu. According to one opinion, according to Medrash in Yalkut Shimoni, he
Son
was
of who?
Of Nochor.
Lot's brother?
Huh?
Lot's brother?
No, Avram's brother was Nochor, so he was a nephew. He was the son of. It says, Kitzer, that's the Yalkut Shimoni says he was a nephew of Avram Avinu. But so Iyuv was a total and absolute tzaddik. So he was struggling. Why should God do this to him? And therefore he started having sveikas in the Ribono Shel Olam, sveikas in his emunah. Maybe there is no God. Maybe, like today, everything is just natural. It's just the way of things. And he went through all his friends came and they tried to tell him, no, there must be something wrong with you. He says, there's nothing wrong with me. You don't try to put that on me. And they go through all the different shitos, all the different philosophies. You find an Iyuv struggling with all the different philosophies, any philosophy that through the ages came out by people trying to struggle with this, like in their emunah, whether there is a God, whether there's forces of evil, and whether or maybe it's the movement of nature, the nature, the stars, the constellation, the mazolos. It's the bad mazel. So he went through all the different possible shitas, and he had very, very deep sveikas in his emunah. He had 3 friends that argued with him, and he knocked them off. He was bigger than them. He knocked them off one after the other, until the 4th person came, was a Novi called Elihu. Elihu came and says, Iyuv, you're making a big mistake. I want to give you a secret. I want to tell you a secret. But if you read Iyuv, you won't figure it out because it's written in very, very hidden language. very hidden language. But Elihu told Iyuv that there's a secret that you don't understand about how God runs the world. The Rabbeinu Bachia and the Ramban, they both say once Iyuv heard Elihu, he stopped. He stopped arguing. And he regained his emunah. What was the secret? The Ramban calls it the Sod HaIbur, the secret of the pregnancy of the world. What is the secret that Elihu told Iyuv? So Ramban and Rabbeinu Bachia told him it's the Sod of Gilgul. It's the Sod of Gilgul. That you are getting torments. You're getting torments and suffering in your lifetime. You don't deserve it. As who are you? The way you are right now, you don't deserve it. Yes, you don't deserve it. But you are a Gilgul.
Rabbi, can you just translate Gilgul for someone who
No.
is English?
It's very hard.
You're trying to
Some
not use
people
the
say
Greek
reincarnation. The standard translation is reincarnation. It's a neshama that is megalgel. It comes back again. We are all neshamas from very, very long ago. HaKadosh Baruch Hu according to the Arizal, HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought all of us. We're neshama. You're not your physical body, but you are a neshama. You are a soul. It's really your soul. Your neshama is the real you, and that was here before, and we didn't reach perfection. So when we look at suffering, and we look at bad things happening, so we say, God is just, how can God be so mean? But we know that God is not mean. You look at all of the davening, Ovino, Ava, Rachaman, Rachem Olenu. He's got so much rachamim. Hatov kilo chol rachamecha, Hamrachem kilo samach hasodecha. He's full of chesed, he's full of rachamim, he's full of ava. Oyhev amo Yisroel. He loves us. So how can he do these things to us? So the Ramban says it's because he loves us. And what's the problem? A person in a previous lifetime, the Rizal says we are all today Gilgulim. We are neshamas that came back. Gilgul, it rolls back again. It's rolling around. It's megalgel, from the word megalgel, to roll around. If we rolled around. And the Rizal says that we are all neshamas that have been rolling around, and have been here before, and we were put into this generation. This may be our third or fourth time that we've been here. This is something discussed not only by the Arizal, but also by the Ramak, Ramoshe Cordovero. Not only by Ramoshe Cordovero, but Rabbeinu Bachaya was a very, very big makubal. Not only by Rabbeinu Bachaya quotes an earlier sefer called the Bahir by Mnuchuni ben Akana. You've heard of Mnuchuni ben Akana? He talks about Gilgulim. And Rishon Bar Yochai, in the Sefer Zohar, talks about Gilgulim. And we come back again because we have to rectify things that we did wrong. Why? Why does Hashem have to do that?
Rebbe's not using an English word because it doesn't mean the same thing in the Hebrew. Is that what Rebbe's saying?
That's right. If there's some words you just can't translate. In general, it's reincarnation. But what does that mean? It's the neshama that comes back again. The Gilgul is, like I said, the word megalgel. Kodesh Baruch is megalgel. He rolls us back again. So you want to call it reincarnation, but it's the same soul coming back again in a new life.
Before the reason, who's Makol from Gilgulim?
So that's what I told you. Before the Arizal, you have Rabbeinu Bachia as a Rishon. You have the Ramban. Rabbeinu Bachia quotes the Bahir. He quotes the Sefer Bahir is written by Nechunim ben Akon as a Tana. And then you have also Shimon Bar Yochai as a Tana. So it goes all the way back to the Zohar. The Zohar talks about it says Elu HaMishpatim.
But it's an Eov also. Meaning it.
Now, Eov doesn't say it outright.
Right.
Doesn't say it outright. If you read through Elihu, you won't. It's all hidden, and that's why the Ramban and Rabbeinu Bachia, they say this is a secret that only a few select people are privy to. We didn't know.
Back then, they probably understood that in Eov, no? They probably knew how to read it.
Rabbeinu Bachia did, and Ramban did. Not everybody did. I went through the Malbim. He doesn't mention a word about this, so I don't know why. Maybe I don't know if he skipped it, didn't know it. I don't know.
And the Gra this is from the Gra Rebbe?
The Gra also in his parish on Yonah talks about the whole Sefer Yonah in his second parish. He goes through the parish on Yonah, and his second parish is how Yonah is talking about the neshama coming back again 2 or 3 times. Being swallowed up in the world means he went down to Gehenna and he came back again. The Gra says that the whole Sefer Yonah is all about Gilgulim.
So it's not controversial idea, that's what Rebbe saying.
It's not controversial. It's accepted by you. Look, so many different people. I got the Chafetz Chaim agrees to it.
Presumably not the Rambam. At least he doesn't talk
I
about it.
don't. Rambam doesn't talk about it, but Rambam doesn't talk about it.
But again, not controversial idea, Rebbe saying.
It's not controversial. No.
Today,
No. It's accepted, and there's too many proofs for it. There's too many proofs for it. So what? So, who is Eov? So there's the Arizal. This is the amazing thing. The Arizal says. This is why I mentioned to you that Eov was in the time was a nephew of Avram Avinu. Avram Avinu's family, obviously, Avram Avinu's family were very, very intelligent people, very great people, big philosophers. That's why Avram became who he was. And that's Nochor was a very. These were all thinking people. That's why Eov, if he was a son or a grandson of Nochor, it says Eliphaz. Some people say Eliphaz was actually the Eliphaz from the son of Esav. Eliphaz was one of his friends who argued with him, and Elihu was also, they say, had a yichus to Avram Avinu, who was like a cousin. Elihu was a cousin of Eov. So the Arizal, there's a very, very interesting Arizal, and he says that Eov was a Gilgul of Terach. Eov was a Gilgul of Terach. What's the problem? The problem is that when a person dies, so if he's got a few Averas, but he's basically a good person, so he goes to Gehenna. What's Gehenna? Gehenna is a dry cleaners. It's a cleaning system. So you burn out the stains, and then you come out clean, because you don't want to go to the Chassan Hall. You go to the Chassan Hall with a tomato stain on your shirt. You don't go to a Chassan Hall with a tomato stain on your shirt, right? Right? You got to send the shirt to the laundry, get rid of the tomato stain, all the stains, right? Stain on your suit and right on your hat. You can't go to a Chassan like that. You got to have a nice, freshly, brushed hat, and you have to have a suit which is clean, and your shirt is clean, it's pearly white, snow white. You want to go to the Chassan. Otherwise you're going to be embarrassed in Gan Eden. But there are some stains. There's some stains. What are the stains? Everybody has to do Taryag mitzvahs. Everybody has to do Taryag mitzvahs. And if we do Averis, it creates a stain in the Averim. All of our Avorim, all of our whole body is made up of Taryag. Taryag limbs and sinews it's in the neshama. The ruchni is part of our body. The soul is made up of Taryag parts, 613 parts. So if there's a stain, if you have an infection, so you want to get rid of the infection, so you do an operation, you cut out the little bit, you got a small infection, so you cut out the bad meat, and then it grows back again, and then you're okay. If you have a stain on a shirt and you wash it, the stain comes out. But what if it's really, really bad? Sometimes a person has got such a bad stain on his neshama, Kadosh Baruch Hu, in order to cure him, he's got to cut that aver out. He's got to do an amputation of that aver. If you have a very bad stain in a shirt, it's not going to come out unless you cut it out. So you're going to have imperfect, right, amputated clothing or amputated neshama going into Gan Eden. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want that, and the Gehenna is not enough to take care of him. The Gehenna can't take care of a very, very deep stain. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has Rachmanis on us. What does HaKadosh Baruch Hu want? He wants all of Kol Yisrael Yesh Lam Chelik Olam Haba. He wants us eventually all to get to Olam Haba. Even the worst of the Jews, he wants them to get to Olam Haba. So what does he do? He gives them a second chance. If I let you go to Gehenna, I'm going to have to amputate. I'm going to have to cut, and you're going to either you're going to go into Gan Eden and to Olam Haba. You're going to go in imperfect, right? As an invalid, you're going to go in, mutilated. You don't want to go into Gan Eden like that, mutilated. You want to go in whole, or maybe he's worthy of kores. Maybe he's not going to make it at all. He's so bad, he's not going to make it at all. He's just going to wander around. The neshama never disappears, but it just goes into nowhere. It's the worst Gehenna. That's worse than Gehenna, being in nowhere. That's another shmooze. But even worse than Gehenna is when you know that you're nowhere and it's forever, eternity, nowhere. That's the worst. And Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want that. So he has Rachmanis on you and he sends you back again. Now maybe you could fix it up and we can start all over again. And fix it up, and then you'll be Zoicha Kol Yisrael Yesh Lahem Chelik Olam Haba. So Terach was a very great person. Look at the family that he created. But he was an Oved Avodah Zarah. He had problems with Emunah. His Emunah was very, very damaged. So he had to come back again and have a Nisoyin in Emunah. Are you going to believe? And therefore, says the Arizal, that he came back as Iyuv. And the question was, with all these terrible torments and suffering, was he going to lose his Emunah in the Kodesh Baruch Hu? And he did. He didn't make it. Until Elihu came. Then he accepted it. He was big enough to accept it when Elihu came. You look to compare him to Avram Avinu. Avram Avinu also went through 10 Yisyonis. Kadosh Baruch Hu told him to shech his only son that he had promised that was going to be the progenitor of Klal Yisrael. And he didn't bat an eyelash. That's how Avram Avinu was greater. Kadosh Baruch Hu, the Gemara Bava Basra, and the Medrash Rabbah, and Yalkut Shimoni, they say that Kadosh Baruch Hu said to Iyuv, I want to make Iyuv as great as Avram Avinu. I want to make Iyuv, if Iyuv would have been successful in holding on to his Emunah, just like we say Elokei Avraham, we would have said Elokei Iyuv. Can you imagine? That's how big Iyuv was. He was given a test like Avram Avinu, and unfortunately he failed. He was a Gilgul of Terach. The Arizal says the Kadosh Baruch Hu has been using Gilgulim from the beginning of time. The Arizal says that who were the people? Who were the Klal Yisrael that went down to Mitzrayim? Who were the neshamas of the? Who were the neshamas that suffered Mitzrayim? Why did they suffer in Mitzrayim? What did they do wrong? That's the biggest question. What did they do wrong? They had to suffer 210 years in servitude. How many actually was bad servitude? 86 years of bad servitude. It was 86 years of terrible torment of working and slavery and throwing the babies in the Nile. Why did they have to suffer so much? They were Gilgul. The door says the door Hamabel. The door Hamabel. Kadosh Baruch had Rachmanis on them. They were going to go lost. So Kadosh Baruch Hu brought them back. This is their Rizal. Kadosh Baruch Hu brought them back into the door of Flaga. Try again, guys. You had a chesaron in Emunah. You had a chesaron in your midos. right? You didn't follow the Zion mitzvahs, but the Zion mitzvahs that I told your great grand, I told that I told Adam Arishon. I told him about all the mitzvahs. You didn't follow that. You didn't follow they sent them back to Dora Flaga. And they rebelled against God. They wanted to wage war against God. So he had to destroy the whole the Dora Flaga, the Tower of Babel, Tower of Babel, right? They also were destroyed. And they came back to the Klal Yisrael in Mitzrayim. The neshamas in Mitzrayim, were Gilgulim of the Dor HaFlaga. You hear this? Are they going to regain their emunah in the Kodesh Baruch Hu and their faith and their faith in the Kodesh Baruch Hu, and are they going to be faithful to the Ribono Shel Olam, even under such conditions? And many failed. We asked, why did so many babies have to be thrown into the river? Why did so many babies they were thrown into the building? Moshe Rabbeinu had tinnitus. He couldn't take it anymore. Why are you throwing the babies in the building? Because Baruch Hu said they wouldn't turn out good anyway. What do you mean they won't turn out good? A baby's a baby. You don't see. He let him take one. It was Micha, and he caused havoc. He brought Avodah Zorah through the Kriyas Yamsuf. He brought Avodah Zorah from Mitzrayim through the Kriyas Yamsuf. Some say he was the one who it's a machlokes, but some say he was one who created the golden calf. According to some opinions, 4/5 didn't make it. Can you imagine? 4/5 didn't make it. Why not? They were the Gilgulim from the Dora Mabel into the Dora Flaga, and they were put. Huh?
That's the reason.
Yeah.
Why do Amabul don't get a school to go back in Gilgul?
Because Baruch Hu loves everybody. They were goyim. This is before Klal Yisrael became a nation. Before Klal Yisrael became a nation. You'll notice this. Before goyim, before Klal Yisrael, before Matan Torah, before the Matan Torah locked in that we are now Klal Yisrael, and only Klal Yisrael is now zeicha to be the Am Hashem. Until the Matan Torah, this is the Nefesh HaChaim. Nefesh HaChaim says any goy could have decided to be a chelik of Klal Yisrael, just like that. Just like that.
Yeah, but they didn't have a chance at all. You were killing as babies. It was a tikkun. A tikkun for what?
For when a baby dies, that's also a tikkun. He was supposed to die. Maybe he was very, very good. The ones who die as babies were the ones who were very, very good, but they had to go through they were chayiv misa.
Yeah, but Moshe Rabbeinu says they weren't good.
Huh? They weren't good enough to be saved. But they weren't bad enough. But all they needed was to be chayiv. A person is chayiv misa in this world. He was chayiv misa in this world, and he died a natural death. So where's the justice? Where's the justice? He did terrible averas, and he was machal Shabbos. He did arayas, and he deserves to die. He deserves to die. He's chayiv misa. The misa's bezdin, and he didn't. He died on his deathbed. Because Baruch is going to bring him back, and he's going to be killed. He's going to bring back. That's the medrash about the Micah, about going into Golis. Guy is on his roof, and the guy's underneath the ladder, and the guy falls off the ladder, and he kills the guy underneath. So the guy who fell down, so he has to go into Golis now, and the guy fell down, he died. So the medrash says they're both Gilgulim. They're both Gilgulim. They were both murderers in the previous Gilgul. The one who got killed was Chayiv Misa. He did murder b'mezid. He did murder b'mezid on purpose. So therefore he was Chayiv Misa. But there was no bezin, so he got it here in the next Gilgul. The one who fell down, he was shoygeg without Adam. He never got to go to Golis. He's got to go to Golis. So he's now HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Megalgal that now he's going to go to Golis. This HaKadosh Baruch Hu, everything comes around again. Golis is also a kapora. He needed a kapora. If a person is chayiv Golis and don't go to Golis, it doesn't get a kapora. And the Shomer Amunim, the Sefer Shomer Amunim, written by the Reb Arla Rebbe, the original Reb Arla Rebbe. Reb Arla, Aaron Rutter. That's why they're called Reb Arlas. Because in Meir Shorim, the Reb Arlas, the stripes, you know.
Both are.
Yeah, okay. So they were called Reb Arlas. The Reb Arla Hasidim, and the first Rebbe was around the end of around during World War II, but he was in Eretz Yisrael. He ran away from Europe, and he was Aaron Rutter, and he wrote the Shomer Amunim. He wrote the Sefer Shomer Amunim, and he brings down very, very big Talmud Chacham, and he brings down that the Spanish Inquisition. Who were these people? Who were the people who died in the Crusades? This is what got me started on this. Who were the people who died in the Crusades? Who were the people who died in Khmelnytsky by the Cossacks? There were terrible massacres and pogroms. Who were all those people? He says they were from Bayis Rishon. And the Chavetz Chaim talks about this also. There were neshamas that were in Bayis Rishon, and in Bayis Rishon they rebelled against Hashem, and they worshipped Avodah Zorah, and the Kodesh Baruch Hu wanted to give them a second chance to die on Kiddush Hashem, see if they hold on to their Emunah. If you die on Kiddush Hashem and you say Shema Yisrael, and you still believe, in spite of everything that's happening to you, you're going to get Olam Haba. But if you buck and you rebel, I don't believe in this God who's doing this to me. That's why I was very careful about people dying in Kiddush Hashem. And if this is Rav Victor Miller, says people in the Holocaust, if finally at the end, like Reb Tauber said, people saw Zeh Ashar L'Hashem Sadiq Yavo Vo, and they had a hergish, a charata, and they said, I'm going back to Hashem, and they died on Kiddush Hashem, they get Olam Haba. But if he was a bona fide atheist, through and through, and he saw that, and he said, because of that, I dafka don't believe in Hashem. I don't believe in God anymore. God could do that to me. I don't believe in him. But Victor Miller says, I don't believe he's going to get Olam Haba. That's not called dying on Kiddush Hashem. Dying on Kiddush Hashem is if at the last minute you believe, God, I'm coming back to you. That's called dying on Kiddush Hashem. It's a very, very dangerous statement, and hope I don't get attacked for it, but that's a Victor Miller. The people died, therefore the Bayis Rishon was full of Ovdei Avodah Zorah. They had to have a tikkun. The Kodesh Baruch had Rachmanis on them. He gave them a second chance. I said a few weeks ago, there was the Kantonistim, the Gezeres in the Russian army. They took Yiddish, thousands and thousands of Yiddish little children, little boys, 25 years of service, 30 years of service in the Russian army. They're ripped away. They didn't give a chance to hold on. The mothers screamed, remember you're a Yid, as they were being dragged away. Remember you're a Yid. So both there's a machlokes between the Chavetz Chaim and Reb Arla. Reb Arla says, so Chavetz Chaim says they were Gilgulim also from Bayis Rishon, because Bayis Rishon was full of people who had problems in Emunah. The Reb Arla says there were Gilgulim of Bayis Sheni. In Bayis Sheni there were Biryonim. There were people who were, Jewish Defense League. They didn't believe in the Chachomim, right? The Sikrikim, and they caused tremendous havoc. And there were a lot of people that they were Jews in name only, so they needed a tikkun. Are you going to recognize your Yiddishkeit? So Kodesh Baruch Hu brought them back and gave them a chance. All I'm asking for you don't have to keep Taryag mitzvahs. They were in the Russian army. They couldn't keep anything. Eating treif, Machal Shabbos, nothing. No tefillin, no nothing. Just remember you're a Jew. That's all. And there were those who did. And when they got out of the army, they didn't know anything, but they went back. They tried to. At least they became part of the Jewish community, whatever that meant. But they never gave up their belief. I'm a Jew, and these were the Kantonistim. There's a tremendous problem today with the hostages, and the people are losing their faith. It's the same thing. They don't understand. How could they took hostages? These kids were killed. What 1,300 were killed, murdered, massacred, butchered. For what? For having a good time it was on Shabbos. They're all Machal Shabbos. Hashem Yirachim. It was happened on Shabbos. They were massacred. It doesn't look like it doesn't look like it's in equal proper punishment.
There was a 10-meter tall Buddha at the festival as well.
They don't really believe that.
I'm saying right, I saw it.
I know, but they don't really believe in the Buddha.
They were dancing all around it. I saw it.
Yeah, that's just time. They're having fun. They don't believe. They don't really. They're not like the Indians who really believe in the Buddha. That's just time. It's a fad. So that's something else. That's the fad. When they do that type of thing, that's a fad.
Isn't that
But and what about the hostages? The 250 hostages, half of them are dead, and in the terrible situations and how they're being tortured in the tunnels. They're all Gilgulim. They're all Gilgulim. And look how many of them. A few of them they gained their religion back. Maybe they're not totally, Bali Tshuva. They're not totally Bali Tshuva, not totally Shomer Shabbos, but how many of them became a shtickle Shomer Shabbos? They got the religion back. One or two, you see pictures of. They started putting tefillin on. They started keeping Shabbos, whatever they understand. They started believing. This was the impetus. The Kadosh Baruch Hu, kindalach, come back. The Chafetz Chaim says. This is the Shomer Emunim says. Look at our generation. There's a famous Orach Chaim. I mentioned to you the Orach Chaim. The Orach Chaim in Shmos. He says that in Mitzrayim, they couldn't go down to the 50th level of Tumah. They were on the 49th level of Tumah, and they couldn't go into the 50th level of Tumah. They would have been lost forever. I mean, it was a contamination of the mind, contamination of the soul. That's Pshat going into the 49th level of Tumah. They were in the 49th level of Tumah, if they would have sunk into the 50th level of Tumah, Kadosh Baruch Hu couldn't have gotten them out, because the soul would have been so corrupt, he couldn't have saved it. So he had to take them out early. Instead of 400 years, it was 210 years. Lasad Lavai. It's our generation. Lasad Lavai, says the Orach Chaim. When did he live? He lived 300 years ago. 300 years ago. He says Lasad Lavai. He's talking about our generation. They couldn't do it because they weren't B'nai Torah. They didn't have Torah yet. But Lasad Lavai, they're going to be B'nai Torah, and they're going to be able to go into the 50th level and come out. Talk about our generation. What's the 50th level? Says the Shomer Emunim, Apikorsis. Total Apikorsis. If you look at the history of mankind, up until 100 years ago, it was a battle of religions. I'm talking about the European religion, European Jewry. It was a battle of believing in the Christian religion, in Catholicism or Protestantism, believing in Yoshke, or holding on to Yiddishkeit. That was, accept the cross or die on Kiddush Hashem. That's what it was. Even in Russia, right? Poland. You spit on a statue of Yoshka, they burned you alive. That's how strong it was. Today, we live in a generation, nothing. They don't believe in anything. Look at all the colleges. They believe in nothing.
Democracy.
Nothing. Yeah, they could call it democracy. Democracy is the new religion. That's what Reb Chanan says. The last religion is democracy. They believe in nothing. There's no spiritual life. It's all physical. It's all scientific, physical facts. That's all. You're just a conglomeration of mud. That's all you are. Look at that's what's going on today.
That's worse than being an orphan.
The total and absolute apicorsis, where there's nothing. Apicorsis, nothing.
Yeah, why is that worse than dying like
And you see how it's taking over. And so many people believe in it. So many people, so many Jews really believe in it. The last Pew report, 80% of the Jews are assimilated.
But people aren't being forced into it.
They're not even reformed. But when they're reformed Jews, at least they believe in something. They're not even reformed. They believe in nothing.
But there's no death threat to.
No, it's not. It's
So why
come. I'll give you everything.
So why is that worse?
It's more attractive.
No base, there's nothing.
It's worse because you
More
have
attractive
not.
than it does.
You don't have any immune. You have. If you're a Christian, at least you believe in something. If you're today a Democrat, you believe in nothing.
I believe in multiple genders already, though.
Look, so the Orach Chaim says we're going to be able to go into that and come out, and that's why we have the B'nai Torah. This is the last stop. This is the last stop, and everything is now getting faster and faster. The Chafetz Chaim says.
AI, here, AI.
The Chafetz Chaim says.
Everything's a
He
joke.
says when you take a train, so when it gets close to the last stop, it starts speeding up, right? Says if you look at the speed of history, it used to be very, very slow. Today, the speed of history is going faster and faster. You can't keep up with it. You read the news every day. It's changing.
Didn't people say this in the Second World War and the Holocaust?
It's even faster today. Yes.
Yeah, no.
Yes. Well,
But
the
then
Chafetz Chaim is before that. It's getting faster.
20 years it will get.
It's getting worse and worse. And look, and
AI.
things are changing.
AI is very fast.
Look at the things are changing. Everything is changing, and now everything's getting very, very complicated. Kadosh Baruch Hu is spinning the wheels of fortune faster and faster, right? And when a business is about to close up, so until the last minute, while the business is going, so you can take credit. While the business is going, you take credit. Write me down on get credit, and then I'll pay you later on, whatever it is. When the store is closing up shop, no more credit, cold cash. Kadosh Baruch Hu is not taking credit anymore. No more Gilgulim. No more Gilgulim. He wants cold cash. This is it. Whatever we are now, is whoever we are going to be for eternity.
Who are the new babies then?
Huh?
Who are the new babies? Like there's babies.
I don't know. Listen, don't ask me all the questions. I'm not a novi. I'm not a novi. But it's how long is this going to go on? I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a novi. But this is what the Chafetz Chaim said. This here, Gilgulim should help us recognize the purpose of our lives is personal tikkun. At least for us, we have to come to a tikkun, a rectification. Tikkun is a rectification. It should motivate us to use every interaction as an opportunity. Improve yourself. Improve yourself. Improve those around you. Have awareness that Hashem never gives up on us. And we should all be, as Hashem, be zoicha to Bias HaMashiach, B'mheira B'yameinu, Amen, Selah.